Former Inner Mongolia senior legislator arrested for suspected bribery. Xing Yun, a former senior legislator of northern China's Inner Mongolia Autonomous Region, was arrested for suspected bribe-taking, according to a decision by the Supreme People's Procuratorate (SPP). Xing was a former vice-chairman of the Standing Committee of the People's Congress of Inner Mongolia and former deputy secretary of the leading party members group of the Standing Committee. His case was transferred to procurators for prosecution after an investigation against him by the National Supervisory Commission concluded, the SPP said in a Tuesday statement. The handling of the case is still underway, according to the SPP. Former senior provincial official arrested for taking bribes Miao Ruilin, former vice-governor of East China's Jiangsu province, has been formally arrested for taking bribes, the Supreme People's Procuratorate said Tuesday. The Communist Party of China Central Commission for Discipline Inspection and the National Supervisory Commission (NSC) announced in November last year that Miao was under investigation. He was expelled from the party and dismissed from office for multiple violations on April 28. The NSC has completed the investigation into his case and handed it over to prosecuting agencies, the statement said. CPC to launch party member thematic education campaign. The Political Bureau of the Communist Party of China (CPC) Central Committee held a meeting Monday, deciding that an education campaign on the theme of staying true to the party's founding mission will start in June. Xi Jinping, General Secretary of the CPC Central Committee, presided over the meeting. The top-down campaign among all party members will be conducted in two separate batches, especially targeting officials at and above the county level, according to a statement issued after the meeting. The statement stressed the importance of the campaign, saying it is a major arrangement by the CPC Central Committee with Xi at the core to command the great struggle, great project, great cause, and great dream. The fundamental task of the campaign is to conduct in-depth studies on and implement Xi Jinping thought on socialism with Chinese characteristics for a new era, forge the political character of loyalty, integrity and a keen sense of responsibility, and unite the Chinese people of all ethnic groups and lead them to strive together for the realization of the Great Dream. Fighting formalities for formalities' sake and bureaucratism should be taken as an important part of the education, it read. Leading organs and officials should set an example in the campaign, it demanded. The evaluation of the campaign's effect should be based on improving the quality of officials, solving problems, and the appraisal and opinion of the general public, according to the statement. The statement called for efforts to make good use of the experiences and practices in the education campaign to improve the party system. A plan for integrated regional development of the Yangtze River Delta was also reviewed at the meeting. As one of the regions boasting the most robust economic growth, the highest level of opening up and strongest innovation capability, the Yangtze River Delta plays an essential role in promoting the Chinese economy, according to the statement. The Yangtze River Delta should play an exemplary role in seeking regional integration and high-quality development to boost the development of the Yangtze River Economic Belt in East China and build a regional cluster of high-quality development. It stressed that elevating the integration plan to a national strategy is a significant policy decision by the CPC Central Committee. Shanghai Municipality and the provinces of Jiangsu, Zhejiang and Anhui should strengthen cooperation in various spheres, making solid steps towards integrated development, it added. China hits back at U.S. tariffs. China on Monday struck back at U.S. tariffs on Chinese goods, announcing duties of between 5% to 25% on more than 5,100 products from the U.S. worth tens of billions of dollars. The measured but firm response from Chinese officials highlighted China's defiance toward maximum pressure from U.S. officials amid a fresh escalation in the trade war, while also seeking to avoid a full-fledged trade war with the U.S., analysts said. China will impose an additional tariff of 25% on 2,493 items such as liquefied natural gas and 20% on 1,078 items, including fruits and chemicals, starting June 1, the Customs Tariff Commission under the State Council, China's cabinet, said in a statement Monday night. China will also impose an additional tariff of 10% on 974 items, such as vegetables and seafood, and 5% on 595 items, including smaller planes, according to the statement. In total, the tariffs cover 5,140 U.S. products worth $60 billion. The statement said that China's measures were in response to the U.S. decision to raise tariffs on $200 billion in Chinese goods. The aforementioned U.S. action has led to an escalation in China-U.S. trade frictions and is against a consensus reached by the two sides to address trade differences through consultations, it said, adding it hurts both sides' interests. Following China's tariffs, U.S. stocks tumbled on Monday, with the Dow Jones Industrial Average losing 2.17% shortly after market opening. Shares of major U.S. companies which rely on Chinese markets also nosedived, with machinery maker Caterpillar stocks down 4.54% and aircraft maker Boeing shares down 3.38%. Firm response. I think the response is firm but measured, said Huo Jiangguo, vice chairman of the China Society for World Trade Organization Studies in Beijing, pointing out that the measures were specifically aimed at responding to the U.S. action. The U.S. on Friday raised duties on $200 billion in Chinese goods to 25% from the 10% imposed since September 2018, to which China responded with tariffs on $60 billion in U.S. goods. While the Chinese tariffs cover less U.S. products than the U.S. tariffs do on Chinese goods, it is sufficient to show that China is not going to back down from pressure, Huo said. China's response comes about an hour after U.S. President Donald Trump warned China against retaliating on Monday. China should not retaliate, will only get worse. Trump tweeted, while repeating false accusations against China. The Chinese tariffs also followed fresh threats from U.S. officials to impose tariffs on $325 billion in Chinese goods, with details expected to be announced on Monday U.S. time. Since the U.S. has resumed the trade war, we should hit back hard, to show the Americans that they will not gain anything from their tough approach. He Weiwen, a former senior Chinese trade official, told the Global Times. But we should also not close the door to talks. Door open. Though China was forced to impose the tariffs, it also did so in a way that avoided a further escalation and left room for negotiations, said Song Guoyo, director of Fudan University's Center for Economic Diplomacy. The country still left some room in the hope that bilateral trade tensions would not further escalate, and that there would be possible future talks with the U.S., Song said. Chinese and U.S. officials concluded the 11th round of negotiations in Washington on Friday without reaching any deal. There were no plans for future talks as of press time on Monday. But in light of the drastic turn of events in the trade talks, China has prepared for all scenarios, officials and analysts said. The Chinese side will never succumb to external pressure, and we have the resolve and ability to safeguard our legitimate rights and interests, Zheng Shuang, a spokesperson for the Chinese Foreign Ministry, told a routine press briefing on Monday. Again, we hope the U.S. side could work with China and meet China halfway to address each other's reasonable concerns based on mutual respect and equal terms, he said. But if the U.S. wants to further escalate the trade war, China will respond in kind, and there are many other tools it could take to inflict pain on the U.S. economy, including targeting U.S. financial markets, analyst noted. Stay focused. However, while fighting back is necessary, it is also equally important for China not to lose focus in carrying out stated reform and opening up efforts aimed at ensuring long-term growth for the Chinese economy, analysts said. We need to commit to our policies because we must keep things at home in good shape. That goes without saying, Huo said, noting that China should continue its reform and opening up efforts. Continuing reform and opening up measures will not only help cope with pressure from the U.S., but could also ensure long-term growth for the Chinese economy, analysts said. In the short term, though, China needs to properly evaluate the potential damage of the trade war on Chinese companies and workers and take necessary measures to help them weather the impact. Yu Yongding, a senior research fellow at the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, said that given China's deep role in the global value chain, it is hard to evaluate the impact on the Chinese economy, but China needs to prepare for the worst. In any case, the Chinese economy will be able to withstand the impact, and China's monetary and fiscal policies still have room, he said at a seminar in Beijing on Saturday.